Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Hayes. Mr. Hayes, in answer to a previous question, you noted that the Auditor General had conducted an audit of SDTC, a report that was issued in 2017 and covered the period between 2006 and 2017. I would note that in that report, the Auditor General found that at the time, SDTC had a, quote, rigorous and objective processes in place to assess, approve, and monitor projects, end of quote, and, quote, had measures in place to mitigate potential conflicts of interest, end of quote, and had, quote, extensive due diligence process, quote, end of quote, that was followed. Do you have any reason to doubt that the Auditor General was given inaccurate or incomplete information to draw those conclusions?
No, I don't. So if I could just make two comments about that. If we ever have concerns about access to information or the sufficiency of information, it's our duty to bring it to Parliament. And I know that in this case, at the time I was the head of our legal services, there wasn't an issue around that. If I might just add one thing, I'll put it this way. Positive conclusions in our audit report are even more concerning to me, frankly, because when we find positive things, we want to make sure that there's no negatives that might be hiding. So when we report a positive to Parliament, it's because it's positive.
Okay. Thank you for that. And since that audit, Liberal Industry Minister Navdeep Bains, as he was then, appointed a personal friend of Justin Trudeau as chair of SDTC. Since the appointment of that individual, a cloud of gross mismanagement, fraud, and corruption has descended upon SDTC, and I would submit that that is supported by the RCGT independent report. You said, sir, in answer to a question posed by Mr. Barrett, that findings in that report are equivocal. However, I would respectfully challenge you on that submission in that, for example, at 2.3.1 of the RCGT report, it is stated, quote, when brought to the Board of Directors for approval, the COVID-19 relief payments to active companies were found not to have followed the corporation's conflict of interest procedures and that board members did not recuse themselves. That involved some $38 million of taxpayers' money that went out the door in which board members were in a conflict of interest, did not recuse themselves, approved the money. That is not an equivocal finding. That is an unequivocal finding that there were breaches of the conflict of interest procedures.
So I would say that we will do our audit work to determine, in our opinion, what is and is not present there. I make the statement about the findings are equivocal in the very same section, but in the summary of key observations, the way that is presented is conflict of interest policy may not have been followed for COVID relief payment initiatives. I understand entirely what you're saying. I think that when I use the word equivocal, I mean that it leaves it open to different interpretations, and that's exactly what's here.
There's certainly language in the report that is very unequivocal, and would you agree that at the very least the RCGT report raises serious questions about mismanagement, conflicts of interest, and potential wrongdoing at SDTC? Would you agree with that?
The reading the RCGT report, the statements in there and the unanswered questions was one of the main factors for us to decide to launch our audit.
Thank you for that. For you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Hayes, you stated that discussions have started with the team at SDTC. Who is your office in contact with at SDTC? Who is that team?
So I think when I mentioned the team, I mean our audit team has started discussions with SDTC. I would expect that it's their management at this point, but I don't have specifics on who exactly that is.
Well, can you confirm Because I note that in the 2017 audit,
Very briefly, Mr.
the
Bear,
staff
or
was
Mr. Cooper,
interviewed,
pardon me.
but can you commit that the audit team will interview executives and the chair at SDTC, ISET officials, including the...
I'm going to cut you off there, but I will allow Mr.
Okay.
Hayes just a brief answer on that, please.
I can assure this committee and Parliament that we will always do rigorous work. We will talk to everybody that we need to talk to.
Thank you very much.